Good morning, I'm Faye Thompson. This morning we're going to do a cream style corn. It's a little early for the corn in the delta part of Arkansas, but I found some at the market. It was fairly reasonable, so I thought I'd just go ahead and show you how to do that today. This has a bigger shuck on it. This is the way it comes from the market right now. I have no idea where this is raised, but I'm sure it's not delta corn because it's too early for our delta corn yet. We take the shuck off, and then we peel all these silks off of it. You have to get most of those. When I cook corn, I usually make a 9 by 13 pan full, and it takes exactly 20 ears of corn to do that. And the reason I do that is because I get rid of in the middle of all of that stuff, and I just make enough and stick it in the freezer or divide it with friends or something. When I buy corn, I buy sweet corn, and it'll have different color kernels in it. This one has like white and yellow. I do not know the correct name for this variety of corn, but we just call it peaches and cream. And that's one of the best corns that I have found to use to make, well, no, it's any kind of corn. And let me tell you, before we get too far, when it's in full shuck, there's a lot of people will put this in the microwave. I think it has to cook for 3 minutes for 1 ear. I have eaten it that way, and it's good, but the thing I don't like about it is it's hard to clean when it's hot. And so I don't do that. If I use a microwave, if I was going to eat this corn for lunch and use a microwave, I'd clean it, I'd put it in a Ziploc bag, and I would cook it for 3 minutes per ear. And then when you take it out, you put some butter and salt on it, and it's very good that way. We have taken the shuck off of it. We're going to take a brush, and we're going to wash this silks off of it. This is the way I like to do it. Those things are hard to get off if you don't use a brush. Just any kind of brush you have around will probably do it. If you're doing very many, you're sure going to want to do that. Then you can look it over. I don't see any silk left on that one. So we get this other one. I believe these are clean enough now. What you want to do next now is cut the ends off of them. Sometimes they're pretty easy to cut. Now this one, see, we're going to cut all that bad stuff off of that. Now, see, that ear is pretty and clean now. See another silk on it. Now I do have an apron on this morning because this stuff splatters. When you're cutting it off the cob, it has we call it a milk under that kernel, and a lot of times it'll splatter. Hey, we got these ready to cut off. Several years ago, I found this little corn cutter, and it has been wonderful. If you don't have to have it though, you can always just cut like this with a knife. I did that for years. And I'll tell you something else, if you're going to do this kind of corn, you don't want to cut too deep. You want to cut almost about half, and this won't be hard for you to learn to do that if you don't know how. You want to cut down just about halfway, because if you cut down too far, I guess it'd be called whole kernel corn. I don't know. I don't like it that way though. But anyway, I was just showing you can do it with a knife. And when you get through, you want to scrape that and get all that, we call it milk, out from under that kernel. You see how much you have? And that's what makes the corn so good. So we're going to finish cutting it with this little thing I like so much. You have to be careful with this little thing. Don't cut too deep now, because it has a tendency, if you don't hold it right, it'll cut too deep. And then you want to take that little knife and just get all of that milk out of it, because that's where it makes the corn so good. But you see how it's splattering here? That's the reason I have this apron on. And I'm going to spray this pan slightly. This is what we're going to cook the corn in. But this is 20 ears of corn with 18 here, and the 2 ears that I just got through showing you how to cut off. So we're going to dump that in here too. When I was a little girl, my mother used to make cream style corn. and she cooked it on top of the stove. I'll never forget it, because I was the one who had to stir the stuff. I think it cooked close to 60 minutes or something like that. You had to be really careful, it would burn, scorch. And I got to where I wouldn't fix it because there's so much trouble. So my sister-in-law called me one day and she said, you know, said, I have found a new way to do cream-style corn. And I said, how? And she said, you can do it in the oven. I said, oh, that's good news to me. I just quit it because there's so much trouble. My sister-in-law, Elizabeth Martin, gave me this recipe, and I was so proud to get it because I hated doing it. What you want to do is pat this down, and you want to make sure there's a liquid showing. So I've got 2 cups of water. I don't know if we're going to use it all. I think we might. But just pat it down till you see some water at the top. That's about right. We've used it all, but I'm not going to use that. I'm using 4 tablespoons of sugar. I'm going to use about 2 tablespoons of salt. Now, you can do this to your taste. You know, these recipes that come from the country, people half of the time don't even write them down. We're going to have to put 1 stick of butter, and what you want to do with that is just cut it up in little pieces like this and put on top of it. You want to use all of this stick of butter too, because that really makes it taste good. My family, I think every one of them likes this corn. We never have a meal, a holiday meal or anything that we don't have this corn with it. I keep it in the freezer all the time. I've got a friend in Mississippi that loves succotash and this cream-style corn, Leah Smith. And then my son-in-law, Scott Ferguson, he loves this. I have to have this for him every holiday too. We're going to put this in the oven. I've got my oven preheated to 350 degrees, and we're going to cook it for 1 hour. And you don't have to watch it or anything. You just put it in the oven and leave it alone. That's what's wonderful about this. When you take it out, you need to let it cool, and then you can put it in your freezer containers and freeze it. Or if you're, today, I doubt if we freeze any of this because I'm going to send some of it to my daughter-in-law's house. Now we've taken our corn out of the oven. We cooked it for 1 hour on 350 degrees, and I'll show you how it looks. It's a very pretty corn, and I think it'll be very tasty. When you get through, because we just sprinkle that sugar and salt and butter on top, you need to take your spoon and stir it up good. Even though you're not going to do anything with it till it cools, it's better just stir it up now. Okay, we finished it. There's your corn, and that's 20 ears of corn if it's an average size and doesn't have a lot of wormholes or anything you have to drain out. This is just average size. 20 ears makes, this pan is a 9 by 13, 2 inches deep. I'm so glad you watched this today, and I hope you cook it and enjoy it, and I hope you join us on another family recipe. Thank you for watching. I put the corn in this bowl. I thought it was so pretty. My grandson and his wife, Ken and Katie, gave this to me a long time ago. I thought the bowl was beautiful.